Good morning, everybody. This is Richard back at you. We're excited to be back. We got Miss Teresa on the camera. Number one, we got Annie hanging out. She's always hanging out, guys. She won't leave our side anymore. It seems like on Teresa. Where we go, she's attached. But anyway, we did get the Pontiac done. Boy, did it put my brain to the work. Definitely. We tried to make it work with a vacuum modulator. That way we could leave it an automatic shifting. But I had a pressure gauge on this side, a vacuum gauge on this side, and as I was driving it, we just had major issues with pressure rise, vacuum drop, all that type of stuff. And the motor makes so much power that there's no way the modulator would respond fast enough to raise the pressure, and it just was not going to work. This car's heavy, makes a lot of power, got a drag radial on the back, and let me tell you, this car will get it. So what we ended up doing is we ended up having to make it a fully manual valve body. It's a standard forward pattern where you got first at the back, second, third, neutral, reverse, park. It stayed forward pattern so we could use a shifter. And then of course we had to do away with the modulator. We put a TCI valve body and a TCI converter in this thing, a little 10-inch, about a 2800 stall. Really made the car come alive. But the TCI fully manual valve body we had to put on here locked the pressure down at about 220. Normally going down the highway about 70, max with the modulator unhooked, vacuum gone 170. It just would not work. This car's too heavy, makes way too much power. Once we put the fully manual valve body on there, then now it's shifting out at 220 pounds, 230, and I mean it's just crisp, and I mean this car really likes it. I mean, I want to take Teresa a ride in it, but we don't hot rod customers' cars unless we just have to get out there and make sure our unit's going to hold up to this car before we give it to the customer.
Well, not only that, I mean, we are in a residential area out here.
Definitely,
so we want to make sure. And
I know where some good streets are, though, out here. We do live out of the city limits, so.
We do.
We do. But we don't abuse customers' cars, but I physically do have to go out here and get on this car to make sure my tranny is going to hold up to this power of this motor, the weight of the car. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to throw that out. We've been really working our rear ends off to get this 100%. But Pontiac, Ford. Oh my gosh, guys. We just go from one thing to another. So we got Randy's 03 Ford in the house, four-wheel drive, 5.4 Triton. This thing wanted to, when you backed up, it wanted to lock down. Boom, 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 boom. Go forward, kind of lock down a little bit, but it would go ahead and go forward where I could do a U-turn out here and get it in the shop, bring it in here. I knew, I'm 100% it's a tranny. When I pulled the pan on it, I found some little chunks on the magnet I'll show you. But being a four-wheel drive, I'm going to show you what it takes to get one of these out.
But not only that, remember, this truck has how many miles?
185,000.
And it's never
been out, guys. I swear, when I got under here, I about fell down because I knew what this truck was going to look like underneath, and I knew what it took to get it out. A lot of PB blaster. Let me tell you. Put this stuff on all these bolts, let it set for a few hours, set it on, put some more on there, let it set for a few more hours, and 90% of the time you're going to get all the bolts out, the nuts off, stuff like that that's totally rusted. But if you look up here, Teresa, you got the exhaust over there.
Yeah, that was a pain.
You got the transfer case here. I used almost every tool in my toolbox. I swear. If you look up here, Teresa.
Oh, I know. I'm seeing it.
I mean, this what it takes to get some of these trannies out. I mean, you use every bit of your arsenal in your toolbox. Well, then, of course, never been out. We are going to be replacing the rear main seal. Had the original seal in it. Had a little bit of trail coming down, so we want to take care of that. Also, precision U-joints. If you look over here, this rear shaft, I mean, just totally gone. There's nothing in there.
You can see that right there, yeah.
It's totally gone. So I'm sure it had a really bad vibration. The front U-joints look fine, not locked down tight on the front shaft, but we are going to be replacing this one here, and of course this one here too. So, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what it takes to get one of these things out. It's a lot of work. Got Miss Annie hanging out. Check her out, guys. She just enjoys hanging out here, I'm telling you. But this is what it looks like. Nice, nasty. We got a pan over here. I'm going to show you a couple little pieces of metal I was noticing on the magnet. This pan doesn't have a lot in it for what it's doing, but if the bearing that's going bad that I think is, it's captured inside the planet, so that's why it's trying to lock down. But you can see that piece of metal there, that piece of metal there. The bearing that's going bad in this, I believe, is a caged bearing. It's got a bearing, a race, but it's got an outer collar on it that keeps the pieces together, sandwiched together. Well, that collar breaks off, and then next thing you know, it gets in the planet and it runs it over. That holds the bearing together. So we'll get this apart real quick. If you notice here, it's just got the output speed sensor here. Rear speed sensor, we do not have one in the front. On our earlier Ford 470W, we had a speed sensor here in the front too. Now this is a 4-wheel drive. We do have a speed sensor on the, actually it's on the rear end on that one there too. It's not on the transfer case. But 185,000, guys, these things do last. I'm gonna look in here and see. I look for paint, anything kind of crazy, any sealant. Original converter. Nothing crazy there. And you want to look in here. It's nice and clean. Doesn't look like paint because you see the greenness from the factory, like a little daub of markings. They're all still there. So just the way it looks, you know, you can just tell it's just never been out.
And he uses this truck.
Yeah, he does. We're excited to get to do it for Randy.
Yeah.
There's one more down there somewhere under all that dirt. Yeah, there is.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Sorry guys, but there's a wasp and it's trying to attack me. You better find something to do something about that because I'm not going to be able to.
Let me fix him up real quick, guys.
Oh, sorry.
Did you smack him with the camera? Where'd he go? Oh, watch out. Okay. Give him a little dose of carburetor cleaner. He's gone. Tracy, you're safe now.
Sorry, y'all.
Okay, we got him.
I just couldn't do that because he was after me. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe I did that.
Of course, we have our 4-wheel drive adapter housing here. If it's a 2-wheel drive, it'd have a tail housing and a longer shaft. Gasket there. No metal in here, just a little age. He could have serviced this thing a lot, but it didn't really look like the pan was off too recent. Kind of. Look at that.
It's gone? Make sure and watch behind me.
Yeah, I killed him. He's nuked with carburetor cleaner. We have our lever here, our park reverse lever here. Now, some of the earlier ones, these on the F-150 trannies, this lever was made to the shaft. So when you put when you change your seal, you have to make sure you put it in the right direction. This will bolt on either way, so if you mess up, you can just turn it. But the F-150 trannies, this lever was physically made to the shaft, so if you made a mistake and put it in upside down, you're in trouble. We have our neutral safety switch here. See if I can. I say how you line this up. You put the tranny in neutral, the shifter in neutral, and you see that line. And see that line? You're taking. Watch this. I'll line it up real quick. I get it. Yeah. So you'll line that line with this in neutral. Click, click, click. Make sure it's in neutral. Turn this. Line them lines up. Tighten it down. Pretty simple. You notice we do not have any fluid in the connector.
Yippee.
Nice and dry. I know our last video was a big discussion on fluid in a connector. People would say that it wouldn't bother the tranny, but if you've never been in the field, I'm telling you, fluid in an external connector will mess with the tranny. time we take these units out, we take a flat pan and pull the filter off, put a flat pan on it, that way we can set it on our jack, because this has a deep pan and it doesn't set on the jack very well. So we pull the pan off, filter, put the flat pan on, pull it out that way. You can see here we have a hard wiring harness. It's just not wires coming in here and running. The earlier designs did have wires, did not have this hard circuit board, or however you want to call it. They do just pop off. Usually you can just pull it off your finger, just like that. These do go bad. I've had to replace them before. Plugs in here. This has to go in before you put your valve body on. If not, you'll have to pull your valve body off and put this back in. Just want to let you know. Of course, you have your shift solenoid, your lockup solenoid, your pressure control solenoid here. You have a pin right here. You're going to be pulling out. Put it where you don't lose things. Like right over there. See here, I got tools I didn't grab. Try these two. Said I've been all over the place trying to work on that Pontiac and get it 100%. Okay. We have our detent spring here. You want to make sure that if you notice how the roller's on the bottom, not on the top, you do not want to put it that way. You want to make sure you put your roller on the bottom. Something simple to know. And you have this bracket here that holds your pressure control solenoid in the right position, because this pressure control solenoid can actually pop out. See that? It can pop out. And then you end up putting this that holds it all the way in the wrong spot. I'll get it out of there and show you here in a second. Get all these bolts out of here. Think they could have put another bolt somewhere else, Teresa?
Probably.
I think we had room through here somewhere. Now all the ones on the top are longer than the ones on the bottom here. Not by much, but they are. I mean, pretty simple on that part of it.
And I would have undone all of those.
Right, the
Just
10
the
millimeters
ones.
too.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it. Yeah, they are different, aren't they?
I'll just like the air on disassemble, because it always unscrews the bolts all the way,
Sure.
where you don't have to pull it off just a little early. But I have an issue with my air hose. My new air hoses just are not lasting. Barely a year. Having issues with them coming off. Like this one here. These are nice hoses. I paid good money for them. But it's a pre-crimp under this, and now it's trying to shoot out where I can't crimp it. I already had one blow off here a while back, and I didn't chase it, it chased me. Actually, I had to run from it. But
Yeah.
so I had to just cut it and put a clamp on it. I don't like that.
No.
So you got this. If you notice, we have a tab. This little tab on here. That valve body sets on top of that to keep that from being pushed in. So if it's good, you do have an O-ring right in here. There's only one O-ring. Normally you'd think they'd have two, but they really don't have a leaking problem right through here. This is so much farther above the pan rail, but we do see fluid get in them. So if you notice, you have this little filter right here that's down in there. If you left it out, It's not a big deal, but it does keep metal from getting out of the converter into the tranny circuit. So. And this is basically just a plate. There's nothing under it but a gasket. But you want to make sure you tighten all these bolts. But also, I will show you something too that if you notice, there's another one right here. These are guide pins. These actually guide the valve body onto the case. They actually stick all the way through. See? And they set in here. That way the valve body sets down perfect on there. Only 2 of them, one at each end. They do make 2 different gaskets right here, so you got to be careful. Make sure you get the right kit. See, nothing under here. Now, if you put a shift kit in it, you're going to be doing some modifications right through here, because we do put a blow-off valve right here. These trannies have problems with high line pressure issues, so they do put a piece here that blows off where it doesn't ever break anything. Mainly the forward drum. It tries to separate the forward drum where the snap ring groove is. So you can't get these mixed up. I mean, they only go one way. They're the way the holes are made. And sometimes you will find one here. Of course, you have 2 different gaskets. You notice the big holes for your plates. This gasket does not have them. So you need to make sure. Pretty simple not to get the gaskets in the wrong spot. Annie, what are you doing? Huh? We do have a filter right here. Your overhaul kit from TransStar will have that filter in there. Of course, you got all your check balls here, 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 here. And also you have a puck. I call it a puck. It'll go in either direction. It's got rubber on this end, rubber on this end, so it'll go in either direction. Doesn't matter. But you definitely do not want to leave it out. Okay. When you get your shift kit, of course, you're going to be drilling a lube hole here, changing your boost spring out, a few other springs and stuff in here too. So just read your instructions anytime you get a shift kit. Really good before you just jump off into it. And we have our 3rd gear accumulator right here. Spring's not broke. Shocking. Now this will be a bonded piston. If this get to that. Right here. We always replace these. This one here is actually starting to get really hard around the edges. It's soft right here, but I can probably take a pair of pliers and just break it off all the way around the edge right there. So you definitely want to replace all your bonded pistons. A lot of times this spring breaks too. So
You need a squeegee.
definitely, huh? Let me see if I can't get some of that dirt out there.
Remember you said you'd be careful today.
Yes, ma'am. Now we have our accumulator here. Now TransStar's overhaul kit will come with a new top hat, but it will not come with this piston right here. Okay, it will not come with this, so you'll have to buy that. I bought this the other day, just not remembering that it come in the overhaul kit, so I do have an extra one, but you always want to replace these. These get really hard, causes all kinds of shifting issues, okay? Now your shift kit too is going to give you different springs for here. It'll give you springs, and it'll also give you a slug, almost looks like this, but about that much longer, that goes down in the center of that spring. Now I already took the cotter key out right there, the pin, that roll pin that was right there. Now this shaft, like I was telling you, will go in either way. You just got to put it in there. And so the FODs, that lever is made on here, so you got to make sure you point it up or point it down. If you're pulling it out, you just want to look at that. If you are R&R guys, you know, you want to make sure you look at it because it's real simple to put it in upside down. Then here's our pressure control solenoid. I wonder what I did with that bracket. Here it is. This sits down like in here like this. And them notches right there. See them notches? Like that. But it's so easy to get it like right in this filter area. I've seen it come in that way and the tranny burn up like that. Okay, so it sits in there like that. Keeps that inboarded all the way. And we have our reverse servo cover and piston right here. Get this thing out. These are, come on. Some of them are terrible to get out sometimes. You gotta get under it. Come on, get over there. Really? We're gonna get this way. There we go. Ah. Need 4 more hands. Now this here is what applies the reverse band along with your reverse clutch that comes on to back up. But these are really bad about getting hard and breaking. This one actually does have a little bit of softness to it, but it's on its way to getting hard. Same way with this cover. These covers always are hard and brittle. And then if the cover gets hard, it leaks around there. Doesn't apply the band very good. So, and then we have our overdrive servo right here. You always want to check. Something looks weird right here. See that?
Yeah.
See how that pin's sticking up like that? That normally don't look like that. This snap ring right here, or this clip, is always bad about breaking. So even in your overhaul kit, Transtar, it will come with this right here, that C-clip. And it also will come with this snap ring that holds that in there. Let me see if we got something crazy going on here. Come on, get out there. Thought maybe the spring is broken. Okay, it is. See, that spring is broken right there.
Yeah.
Let me get this off here. Now you're going to be replacing this cover anyway because this is a bonded piston too. If you notice, the rubber's made to it. So this always gets hard. Once it does, it burns the overdrive band up. But this is right here, spring is definitely broken, so you're going to have to find you another spring.
Are you sure we can't refurbish it?
You know, I might be able to weld that back. I'm just... No, I've got cores everywhere, so
yeah.
we'll get another spring there. Shift kit does not come with a spring there. Of course, you have your big one here, the old monster. You always want to Scotch-Brite this stuff up through here. Anytime there's a rubber seal running, you want to Scotch-Brite all this stuff up in here. That way it runs a lot smoother. Here, 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 all those places. Okay, Teresa, I'm going to get in there and throw some oil around.
You better not. You promise?
I promise. Bolts. Our beautiful slide hammer. I've had this slide hammer probably 30 years. I think I've repaired her a few times. Actually, that's a bolt welding on the end of it now. I probably wore the threads out so many times. I just welded a metric bolt on there. There we go. So you got your forward sealing rings right here, your third gear, or your reverse sealing rings right here. Now you have your piston right here that applies your second gear clutch. So anytime this goes into second gear, it's trying to push the pump out of the case because this piston goes that direction, so it's always trying to push it out. If you notice here, this is the bottom of the pump. We have a bleed orifice hole right here in this piston. You do not want that bleed orifice hole on the bottom. That will cause aeration of the fluid. So you always want it at the top. And plus it'll put oil down on this thrust washer like that. So a lot of times when you put this back together, this tab just locks in this groove right here. So you always want to take and tap them over. That way when you put it back on, it locks good. And you have your little weave hole right there, see? Comes out right there. This also puts oil on the clutches on the whole front of the unit right there. So you want it at the top, not at the bottom. It would never lubricate anything at the bottom. I've always liked this pump assembly right here. Ford actually hit this one the first time. They didn't have to make it 5 different times before they figured out the right size of the pump gears and stuff like that. Like they did the E40D and the 4R100. It's just got multiple pumps. Gas, diesel, half gas. I mean, it's just all over the place. These pumps very seldom wear. I mean, they just are really nice pumps. Steel gear and aluminum body. But you always you want to check because you got suction and pressure. You want to check that area right there. Okay. Look at the gears for any wear in here. You'll never hardly ever see wear on the outer edges or on these surface areas here unless it just the tranny cratered and just filled it plumb full of metal. Wide pump bushing. Seal here, gasket. Very simple. Same way here, you want to look here. This is where you got your suction and your pressure. You want to make sure it looks brand new. And it does. This here is our overdrive band. You can tell it's starting to get smoked. This spring being broke too on that servo can actually float enough to apply that and push that band on, because the springs are designed to keep the pin away from the band. That way the band stays opened up and gets lubrication in there. But that spring being broken, this pin could float, you know, and cause issues with that band. We have an anti-rattle spring right here. This is kind of weird how Ford made that. It sets down in here and goes against the steels and keeps them from rattling in the case. And why they did that is because the diode sprag. Listen to this sprag. Hear how it clicks? Well, that clicking, I believe, caused issues with these right here and would cause a noise. So they slide that in there and keep enough pressure on it downward to keep these from rattling. Second gear clutch. I mean, it's just old. Not from out. Got that. You want to make sure you put that back in. Got your reverse clutch here. Sometimes these will have 3, sometimes they'll have 4. Very seldom ever see a problem there, but we do see problems with this bevel plate breaking. If you remember, well, the C4 that we just did, actually the bevel plate was broke on it. Shocking, I can still get that with no problem. Transstar. Oh yeah, no problem, Richard. I tell you, Raymond at Transtar, guys, if you can ever get a hold of him for a parts guy, oh my gosh, he's definitely tremendous. Awesome guy. You have this, you got your piston down in there still. You see I didn't blow it out, which I can blow it out. I was worried about this thing popping off and us chasing it. You have a seal here, a seal here. Now these are not lip seals, these are like square cut seals. There's no lip to them. Even the center one, there's no lip. You can go on any way, okay? But you always want to come in here and Scotch-Brite this up in here and around this. That way when you put your new seal in, it slides a lot better. I have actually plastic tools that put all this stuff back together. You can do it with a feeler gauge deal like I use sometimes too. These work really good. I don't like the new ones. I try to file the edges off or sand them off, make them round kind of, because these can scrape metal when you're trying to put a seal in. So I have one that I use that's War plumb out that works flawless. I've been using, there's no sharp edges or anything on it. Of course, you have your bearing. They did a lot of changes right here in the depth of this drum right here. From the table to the top of this surface right here, you have to check, because the bearing, it's not as tall. If you have a thrust washer right here, this drum's going to be taller. Okay, so when you start swapping parts around is where you're going to get in trouble on this unit here. Of course, you have 2 sealing rings here, Teflon rings. It's your forward clutch here. Now this clutch here comes off in overdrive, back on when it goes back to third. And this is the drum that always breaks from high pressure spikes. Like I was telling you, that shift kit you're going to be putting in here eliminates high pressure spikes, and it'll actually bust this whole drum all the way around here and blow this snap ring out. Just takes this whole piece right here and just blows it out. So you want to make sure there's no cracking. Look at that really well there, because that is a common problem. Of course, you got your forward clutch. You can see it's just about cooked. The inner ones are just totally gone. You can see here the material's just falling off. Now we do have a wave here against the steel and then a clutch. Okay. Now, you remember on our last 470W we had a speed sensor in the front of the case, and this here wasn't metal. You remember a magnet wouldn't stick to it. Made out of some kind of crazy metal, because the speed sensor was going through, reading through the drum and actually counting this right here as a counter. Well, this one here is metal. It will not work. So if you try to put a metal one in the later design, that speed sensor will not read. It has to be that special metal.
That's crazy.
So I was hoping to start seeing some chips or something and some teeth here. Nothing on there, but you can see here where the drum is already starting to cut into the shell right here. See that right there? Now I can TIG weld this up right here and make that perfect again. I'll just replace the shell. It doesn't cost that much. On this one here, we do have a snap ring that sets down in the case, and then the band sets on it like that. Okay, and then of course we do have another. I call it like an anti-clunk spring, but what it does is it keeps this support turned one direction. That way it can't do this. We got all kinds of bearings, sealing rings. This bearing sits down in there. We got a bushing down in here. That bushing is pretty tough to replace, and when you do get it out, when they put the factory bushing in there, there will be shavings that's been pushed towards the back. So you want to get in there with a grinder and clean all that out before you put your new bushing in there. Got some sealing rings here. Let's go into this drum here first. This is our third gear clutch here. I'm going to look at it, see how it looks. See there? I mean, they're thin, not burn up, but definitely thin. If you put them back in and checked your clearance, it would probably be way overboard on clearance. So, but on this one drum here, we replaced 90% of these drums. This shaft sets down in here, and it strips out every time almost. And these, you can't see it, but those splines are thin. The tips of them are. So this is a drum that we always replace. This is where I was mainly concerned, was our planetary down here, and this bearing down in here is what I was mainly going for. But you can't get the bearing out to check if it's bad. All you can do is kind of push on it like that, see if you can feel anything. Oh, I feel something. Hear that dryness? Huh? Yeah, I'm just going to have to get in here and see what I can find where that metal come from. Because there's no other place that those little straps can come from, and that was on that magnet right there. So this is going to be one I basically just start cleaning up and physically going over every piece really good, because you would not believe what we find after the teardown on cleanup. I mean, huh, Teresa, it's amazing the parts that we replace after the fact. So, well, anyway, I'm going to get this cleaned up really quick, see if I can't find the noise, but I think I hear something there. I think that bearing is bad down in there like I was talking about. Well, anyway, just another day, and it's getting hot in here already, huh, Teresa? I want to thank Miss Teresa for videoing, huh?
Yeah, sorry about the first part with the wasp, but me and
at least
Bugs
we
don't
got
get
him, huh?
along. Yeah.
We did
I
get him.
hit it with your phone, actually, and knocked it down.
Yeah. Well, hey, don't forget to go check 4D Motorsports. That's our son-in-law and our daughter's page. Really good family page of racing and stuff like that. The Dirty Birds and some videos and stuff over there too. 4D Motorsports. Go check out our merch store. Not much, but it is there. And we want to thank you guys for definitely watching and enjoying what we put out there. Have a fabulous day.